Welcome back. We are back to continue the interview and conversation with Arthur, Bernette's um, personal guide. And when we ended the first part, there was a question about the new earth that I had and lost souls that Arthur's going to answer. And that question is, what will happen to the lost souls that remain earthbound when the new earth comes about?
So we are in a multidimensional space. And so right now, Earth is in the third dimension. So what you touch, feel, and smell, and all of that is that third dimensional reality.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine there's an overlay that you can't really see,
Mm-hmm.
but there's things happening in there just as vibrantly. And then she's showing a space that is just outside of that, where those who don't vibrate closely enough to Earth but haven't moved on
Okay.
kind of live in that space. And when Earth continues to shift and raise her vibration, those lost souls, those beings who haven't vibrated, who may be in that fourth, they'll get pushed out a little bit further.
Okay.
But at the same time, we don't want that to happen because we don't want lost souls.
Right.
So ideally what happens is the people who are living do some work with people who are already found in spirit, those who aren't lost. And that there's some work done together to get those people. They need to go up. Being stuck in that realm of, I mean, it's like a black hole. It's not a black hole, but it's a space of emptiness because
Mm-hmm.
it's not directly overlaid with this reality. See, if the things that are overlaid with this reality, which is where, like, say someone goes to spirit and they say, well, I want to uh, live between lives, but be close to those who I love who are still living. I'm not ready to reincarnate here yet.
Mm-hmm.
They may come to that fourth dimension. And there's a whole world there. They can't interact directly with their three-dimensional people
Yeah.
because the three-dimensional people can't see them.
Okay.
But they have a whole life. They can live a whole life in between lives in this fourth dimension around this earth. The people who are lost, those lost souls,
Yeah.
because they can't vibrate at that fourth dimensional level, they get kicked out to that next. But it's not a real place of creation. And that's what I want to use is it's not a place of creation. Because they've lost touch with the fact that they are still creators. There's confusion because they don't understand what's going on, what's happening. There's darkness because energetically they're dark.
So is that the outer darkness place that is sometimes spoken of in the
You're out.
Bible and through Christians? Outer darkness. Is that the space?
It would be related. It would be relatable to that
Okay.
because they're past our realm. And they haven't reached what would be called heaven. They haven't reached the light. They haven't gone into that next level, which is where they're supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they don't go because of fear, confusion, non-belief, misunderstanding, anger. They're trying to wait for retaliation, but then they get stuck out there, and then they're just in the cycle of being lost.
But that's a different place from what we call the waiting room, right?
That is a different place. They haven't made it to the waiting room.
Okay. So in this place that they're stuck, is this like a hell?
It is of what they It is what they imagine it to be. I would,
Okay.
if I'm looking down at it,
Mm-hmm.
it would be hell to me because I know what's real. I know that they're stuck. They don't know that they may be stuck.
Mm-hmm.
But someone looking into that place. And the thing is, people come into that place, like people from here come into, and I don't mean here where I am with you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean here
Where you are.
where I am.
Okay.
People here come to this place trying to get them, and sometimes they don't even see us. They don't recognize that we're
Yes.
here.
That's
So
what Mama Maybell said.
yeah, she did. She mentioned that, and
Mm-hmm.
it's so hard because you see these people, and you're right there, but because they're not vibrating at a certain level, or they're not aware, open, they won't even consider it. It's not what they believe. They're not looking for it. There's all kinds of reasons they don't even see, like, the reality. So there's a lot of work that has to happen of mind. So it's like you're constantly whispering in their ear, just like people whispering in ears here, so that you don't wind up in that space of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Whisper in their ear, just waiting for some little light to go off, just something. Because once that something goes off, it brings more light, and it like opens them up some.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't see totally, but it opens them up enough to be able to see a little bit more.
Okay.
And at some point, then they might be able to see us, the people who are trying to get them.
Yeah.
And we can finally take them home.
Wow.
When they're in the when they pass over initially, they go into the fourth, and it's a different. So this is confusing. There's a couple fourths, and I'm calling those the dimension.
Mm-hmm.
There's the one where you go once you pass over,
Okay.
and you died. That's different than the one that when people come back and they want to live around this planet. They hold a different space.
Okay. Wow.
So those people aren't necessarily interacting with the people who died, but those worlds are both real in a sense.
And they're kind of existing at the same time around the earth.
Mm-hmm. But they're overlaid. It's like you put one filter over, and you put another filter over, and you have, Earth is underneath. Well, they cross
Okay.
without crossing.
Okay, so let me ask you, the people who actually go to the waiting room, move beyond the waiting room to that fourth dimension that they talked about earlier, that dimension is a different fourth dimension from moving from the earth third dimension to the next level.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that fourth dimension when I said that they were moving from when you die, you go to, it's a spirit dimension.
Okay.
Which is a fourth because you're in a physical. When you remove the physical, you get to the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
So there can be lots of fourths. Anything that's not physical is your fourth.
Okay.
Now then you keep going up. But when you first cross over, you enter this fourth, where people oftentimes will experience seeing and feeling. They'll experience the earth kind of like they last knew it. Maybe it's a reality that they can be familiar with,
Mm-hmm.
but it's often from their own mind. And people will come to get them there, ideally.
Oh.
So they can come and get them there. Now, many people will maybe in that fourth for a long time. You can exist in that fourth of your mind.
So that's what we call the lost. Those are the lost souls. No, those aren't the lost souls.
Okay. So you might be existing in that space for a long time, waiting, but your your mind hasn't said anything to you that this isn't real, that this doesn't exist, and you're still vibrating at a high enough level that you can be that close to Earth.
Okay.
So if you aren't, it's truly about your level of vibration. If you aren't able to vibrate high enough to be that close to Earth, you will get pushed out. So there's all kinds of people can exist in the fourth. That's close to Earth. That's overlaid with this planet.
And I'm confused a little bit
It's
about.
confusing. That's why we don't talk about it much, because this is beyond.
Okay.
But there's a fourth, and there's many fourths.
There are many fourths.
There's this planet Earth, which is in a three-dimensional physical existence. You cross over. You go into a spirit dimension. I'll call it that. You'll go into a spirit dimension. From there, ideally, you will be taken home. You can go in, see the light, and be gone into those higher levels.
Okay.
And you go to the waiting room. You go through that process.
Yeah. Okay.
And you keep moving forward.
Okay.
If you don't go into the light immediately, you may continue walking around that fourth dimension.
Okay.
And there are. So the lost souls question, there are those who are lost in the darkness, and there's those who are lost. And the first question you have was about those lost in the darkness.
Yes.
You also have those, I want to call them wandering.
Okay.
I want to call them, because they're not lost.
Because so lost souls are the souls that are in the darkness.
Yeah.
And then there are those who are wandering who haven't moved to the light,
or they may be sleeping, but they're not lost.
Gotcha. Okay, all right, because I was using lost as a blanket term for anyone who crossed over but hasn't gone into the light.
Yeah, and there's different levels of not found, I guess.
Not found.
So there's those who are lost or in the darkness, or those who are wandering or sleeping or confused that maybe here they're not vibrating so low that they get pushed out, though.
Okay. So
you have to be of a really low vibration. I hate to say it, but you got to be of a really low vibration
to be pushed out.
To be pushed out.
And so those who've been pushed out, those are the kind of lost souls in the darkness.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that contribute to being a lost soul and having a vibration that low?
A dark heart. And that's really the biggest thing, is a heart of malice. You know, you don't want to use the word evil, but yeah, evil, being really bent on hurting others, and then also not believing in anything else. So you believe that this is it, right? Or that you can call on darkness to help you.
Oh.
So then you get stuck out there in the darkness. It's a dark heart. It's a dark will. It's using darkness to power you. It's that dark energy, and pulling on that.
Okay. So people just being negative, having a negative vibration, doesn't necessarily make them
like someone
dark
who's
or lost souls. Okay.
Because you can have a negative vibration without trying to be malicious about it, without pulling on the darkness.
Okay, so it's pulling on the. Ooh. It's intentionally.
It's usually intentionally pulling on the darkness to help you in this life. A lot of times those who do that don't think there's going to be a retribution afterwards. It's having a dark heart of evil intentions, where you're seeking to hurt others for your own good or your own benefit, and then not ever coming to terms with that. So everyone has a possibility of shifting and turning back around.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone. Those who can't come to terms with the fact that, wow, I really distance myself from my humanity. I really distance myself from source. I really distance myself from the truth that we are all connected. And I maliciously went out and hurt these people for my own selfishness, my own ego. And that's one aspect you need to recognize that, turn it around. And those who have called in the darkness need to um, distance themselves from that and call on the light. But you have to even know that that's possible. You have to even know that that's something you need to do. And so those who are in the darkness, they a lot of times aren't even aware that I need to turn back.
Mm.
They're in the darkness. They don't realize that, oh, maybe calling on, there's energy. Not you don't want to use all of it. You don't want to, just because it's there doesn't mean it's what you want to use. So there's some energy that is dark, some energy that is malicious, that is not good. It exists in the same spectrum of that is good and pure, because everything is polarity. But you don't want to pull from that end. Why would you when there's this end to pull from? But there's the aspect of a dark heart.
So, could people be influenced by an outside force to do things that are dark?
Absolutely.
Without really being dark themselves?
There's a vibration thing there. Yes and no. You can be influenced by the darkness. So if your vibration is low, you begin to attract those things that vibrate lower. And you can be influenced by them, which might make your vibration a little lower. And then suddenly you're attracting even lower levels.
Oh.
And then you can become influenced by them. Did you mean to be influenced by them? I certainly hope not. Some people call on darkness. Some people don't care where that power comes from, as long as they have it. Some people don't know where that power is coming from. Some people don't know where those thoughts or those ideas are coming from.
Mm-hmm.
But they know that they have them, and if they allow it to influence them, it becomes this spiral downward, where they need people to act as light on their behalf. I mean, if you see someone spiraling down, pray for them. Send them light to flush out the dark. Send them light. Because you don't want them to get stuck out there. Because after a certain point, their vibration can become so low that if they cross over in that low state, and when you cross over, you realize that you may be aware or you may not be aware. If you cross over and that's such a low state, you may not be willing to see anyone that doesn't align with that vibration that you're vibrating at, which means that the only thing you may be seeing is that really dark stuff.
So you mentioned if you see someone spiraling down, that you should pray for them and be a light for them.
Mm-hmm.
What if you just didn't pray for them, but criticized them and judged them and look negatively at what they're doing because they're spiraling down? What happens? How does that affect them? If prayer affects them positively, does that affect them negatively?
So I feel like that's an obvious question, and the answer is yes. At the same time, you live in a human world. If someone is doing things evil and dark, it is human nature to try to stop them, and there's judgment. They may go to prison. That's judgment. They may die in prison. at that very low state. So there's the issue of judgment, but how do you judge? Do you judge where you're beating someone down and saying, there's no possibility of hope? Or you judge and say, you know what, this is what happened, this is what you're doing, this is the reality of your situation. You need to recognize it and see it for what it is. And I'll pray for you. Now, granted, they may not want to hear that. If they're in that place of darkness, they don't want to hear about your prayers. They don't want to hear about your light. They don't want to hear about your love and your God speaking, your Christian or your Muslim or your any spirituality thing. They don't want to hear it. They cannot hear it. It's pain to their ears. They cannot receive it directly.
But we need to pray for them.
Yes.
Even if they don't want to hear it.
And I would not do it, I'm going to pray for you. No. You don't have to do this publicly. You just recognize that need and you can do it in private.
Yeah. Yes.
Better not to say anything at all. And just be the light for them. Hold that space for them in your private way.
Thank you. Thank you. That's powerful. That speaks to me. I thank you. Well, I think our time is up. I'm going to ask you if there's. I think in the future we're still going to have to come back because I only asked one of my questions.
Ask one more. Go ahead. Throw one at.
One more. This is another New Earth question, and I don't know how. Are we existing in the New Earth right now under a different consciousness? Because it's been said that the New Earth is already existing.
So you're dealing with the multi layers again.
Oh.
So everything begins before anything manifests in the reality. It exists in spirit. Anything.
Okay.
And so for the new earth to be manifest in reality, it must already exist in spirit.
Oh.
So yes, it does. And we exist in spirit. There's an aspect of ourselves that is not in this reality, not in this tangible three-dimensional reality. So on some level, spiritual level, the new earth exists. You exist. Not every person on this planet has a consciousness that is present in the new earth.
Oh. Okay.
Most people do not. It's not, it's just most people don't. Because it's being born. And just like in a mother's womb, the consciousness comes in towards the end. So at this point, the Mother Earth being a new, she's in her birthing. So in the spiritual existence, she is still growing. She has yet to come into this reality. So all of the components, all the parts of her are still being put in and developed. And that includes the consciousnesses that will inhabit her.
So can we do something now to ensure that our consciousness develops in the New Earth, exists in the New Earth?
If you want to, yes. This earth is a beautiful place. It's a unique and special place. It is not the only place. So, as humans, you have an affinity for this planet. As humans, there's this intrinsic connection that, oh, I want to make sure my consciousness stays here. But what if it doesn't?
Hadn't given it a thought.
What if you incarnate in a distant star system millions of light years away and decide in 100 million years you want to come back to this earth? There's no reason why your consciousness has to be in the new earth.
Okay.
However, she demands those who want to be with her to raise their consciousness. So those who choose to come to this planet will have to have a consciousness that is on level with her. Some of those people are not on this planet right now. Many of them are on other systems. They're in other places. They're in the gap in between. They're not even here. Many may be here, but they have work to do. Many are already doing the work. So there are various stages.
Okay. Okay.
But she's going to be ready. And if people want to come with her, they will need to be ready. They will need to get ready. Not saying you all have to be in this, perfect state. That's not this planet. This planet is not a perfect state planet. But you have to be willing to go further. She's going to demand more love. She is tired of the war.
I am too.
She's tired of blood in her soil. She's tired of blood in her water. Her water is the blood of her. That is her blood. Her water is her blood, and it courses through this planet. But she's tired of our blood, our oil, contaminating places it's not supposed to. She's tired of us abusing her, misusing her, and treating her as if she's disposable. She says, I am not disposable. However, humans are.
Wow.
And we need to take that to heart and remember that. Because humans have not been here very long in the grand scheme of things.
Wow.
We need a better human.
Wow. Oh, well, Arthur, thank you. Thank you for this message, powerful message from Earth. Ooh, and with that, I guess our time is up for this session, and we're going to close. And I just pray that we all come to our highest level of love and light, and with understanding for each other and for our Mother Earth. Let us all live and be as one. So it is.